Hello, guys. We'll get some people invited here, and then we're going to get ready to start.
Hey everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Uh-oh, I ain't got no sound. Hang on.
We meet again.
Hey Ellen. Hey Tracy.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi Tina.
Hello, everyone. This is an awesome topic. Marie is really looking forward to hearing this one.
Hi Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, now I have
Hey
sound.
Tim.
Good.
Hey, Tim.
I was talking, and I couldn't hear anybody.
We can hear you.
We can hear you now.
Hopefully you can hear us. Okay, there is something wrong here, though.
Hey Mark.
I might go enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to step off and come back because the whole thing isn't looking right to me.
Okay.
So invite me again if you can, okay?
Okay.
I'm just sending out a bunch of shares right now.
Oh, good. Hey, guys. Bunch of people in here.
Man, somebody
There we
already
go.
want to come up. Who is it? Lynn? Okay.
Okay, it looks better this time. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know if Shannon's at work or not, or if he wants to come up or not. A lot of times if he's at work,
Well,
he
we can
doesn't.
invite him,
Yeah.
and
He
if
can.
he accepts, then there, he's invited.
I haven't seen Marie yet either. She might be late, though.
Well, I know she's around because she's looking forward to it, and she just commented about 3 or 4 minutes ago.
Hello Dorothy. Hello to everybody in the chat.
All right, a couple more shares and I'm done.
I have enough wires on my desk for an army tonight.
You're all set up. Hey, Shannon.
Hello. I'm out in a park, so I don't know how noisy it'll be. I'll just put myself on mute.
Hi Shannon.
Yeah, okay.
Hi.
That's good, though, that you're here.
Where did
Hi,
Tim
Shannon.
go? Where did Tim go?
He'll come back.
Uh-oh, he'll be back.
There he is. Well, there he is.
There we are.
I think we're
Where'd
all
you
here.
go?
I was trying to share to WhatsApp and other places and like messages and.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hey, Faye.
And Marie is here, so we can invite her up. Where are you, Marie? I don't see Marie on my list for some reason.
I'm looking for her.
Let's see if I can find her online.
I think it's weird that the list is like that, though, that I can't see everybody.
I can't see her.
It is a strange way they do this on this app. Hi everybody.
Marie, I was going to
We
say, Marie, if you can request, we'll invite you up.
yeah, we need to get her request because I can't get it sent.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh, man, it would be nice to be able to send a message while in the TikTok app.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
So weird. She says she sent a request. Why is that not working?
I hit accept.
Now's a good time to be
Oh.
tapping the like button before we get started.
She says it's not showing. That's weird. I don't understand. I don't get it.
Okay. All right. Already at 2,000, huh?
Good idea, Shannon.
No, Marie, we see her comments. Let me see.
Yeah, we were trying to get you up. I hit accept and it didn't go. Yeah, she might need to go out and come back in. For some reason, it might be hung up.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do it again. Yeah, nope, still not showing it. Hey, Rolos is back. Hopefully, I think I tried to convince him of something one time. He
Yeah, I think I remember him coming up.
was in the comments.
Well, welcome everybody tonight. I'm just going to kind of go over a couple things before we get started. We had a lot of attention over the last live, and I just wanted to say, we're trying the best we can here to get this information out, and it's Father's information. It's not mine. And when we have people come in and they want to talk about something that's off topic, and we give them 50 minutes, and then we try to respond and they cut us off, then it does get irritating, and tempers are going to flare when that happens, because most lives you won't even get up if you're talking about it off topic, for one thing. And I love everybody, but it's like, if you want to bring something that's way off topic like that again, please, people, bring it to us in Discord or somewhere else and let us go over it, and then we can discuss it up here on the live, because people don't want to, if they go to watch something, they don't want to spend 50 minutes and then listen to people argue for another 15 or 20 minutes after that. And we don't want this to become a chicken fight up here. There's no need in it. We all got the same goal. We're all trying to get this information out. We love Father, and it's like, we love Jesus. It's like, just let's try to work together, okay? It's like, and there's another group, and they've given me a lot of grief, and I'll just be straight up honest with you. I've even been called chemo brain, like I'm losing my marbles because I've had to take meds for these tumors. I'm not a chemo brain. There's nothing wrong with my brain. There's nothing wrong with me. It's like, and instead of fighting me every step of the way, they should be trying to get the information out. And then instead of me getting comments back that they're going to destroy this live and that my Discord, no matter what, and they won't stop at anything to do it, they need to be just getting their bootstraps up, and if they really love Father, they'll go out there and do the same thing I'm doing. They won't be fighting me doing it. I don't understand it. It's like, I'm putting a lot of time in all this and a lot of effort to get this out to y'all. And no, I don't feel good. Most days I'm very sick, and I'm still doing it anyway. I'm on my podium tonight because I'm tired of this. It's like my Facebook turned into a chicken fight today over somebody being rude to me. And it shouldn't be happening like that. This is Father's word we're talking about. This isn't something that we want to go. What are we going to say? at the end of the day. I mean, last time Tim kept getting cut off. I mean, we let the guy speak 50 minutes. We gave him 50 minutes to give his presentation, and it's like, when you give them 50 minutes, then by darn, let them turn around and let us counter and say what we think. It's like, it's crazy. But I'm just going to say that because if it happens again, I'm going to cut it off because I'm going to boot and get rid of it and stop it. Because this is not the time or the place. We got a goal here, and we're trying to accomplish something for Father. I love you guys, but this has got to stop. Okay, now I'm off my soapbox. And if people get mad and leave, they just get mad and leave, because I can't do anything about it. Tonight I got something different planned for y'all. And it's going to probably shock people. And it may take 2 or 3 nights to get through it. I don't think we can do it like... Ooh, that ain't right. Get it where y'all can see it. Getting better. There we go. See if I can get rid of some of that white so y'all can see your chat box. Is that better? I think so. Okay, we're going to talk about who Simon Peter is. And this is kind of wild because when I first started looking into all this stuff, because it's like Simon was the only one that Jesus called Satan. And Simon did some really bizarre stuff. It's like when you really get to looking at him, it's like there's a lot going on with Simon Peter. And there's a lot that's mistranslated that really tells us even more. Okay. Let me see here. If I can do this. Okay. In Luke 6, I'm going to have to adjust that some more, aren't I? Sorry about that. That might be better. In Luke 6:13, we're told, and when the day came, he called his disciples and chose from them or singled out 12, and he named them apostles. And what people don't know is that word for separated out can also mean separated from part of the whole. Like he set them to the side and literally named them something. Okay, what did he name them? We're told that he named them like messengers or apostles for him or messenger for him. That's not exactly true, I don't think. Because apostle is the same word you get apostate from. It's like, in Greek, the prefix apo means from or away. And the suffix of that word, or the root part of that word, is stolus. And who was Stolus? Stolus was the great prince of hell that commanded 26 legions of demons. He taught astronomy, and his knowledge about herbs, plants, precious stones. He is depicted as a raven or a crowned owl with long legs. So the literal meaning could mean from the great prince of hell. That's pretty intense. And when you think about what Peter did, now when he denied Jesus had the Spirit in him, and it was like, not only did he just deny him, but he denied him with oaths and curses too, on his breath. There's Stolus. This is from the Keys of Solomon. There's like 3 different books, the Lesser Keys, the Greater Keys, and then there's the Testament of Solomon. And Testament tells what he did with these demons. The first 2 books tell about the demons. Okay, and Stolus, that's the sigil there, the seal of Stolus. And it says that he was known as Stolus, the great prince of hell. He is seen as the fallen angel and commands 26 legions of demons. He is depicted as either being a crowned owl with long legs, a raven, or a man. So he can also be a man. Okay. Let's see. And here's part of the original text. The 36th spirit is Stolus, or Stolas. He's the great and powerful prince, operating in the shape of a mighty raven, or first before the exorcist, but offer But after he has taken the image of a man, he teaches the art of astronomy, the virtues of herbs and precious stones. He governs the 26 legions of spirits, and his seal is thus, which is, and it goes on about that. But I thought it was important to note that he can also take the form of a man or the shape of a man. I don't think there was anything on this card other than that really had to know. He was over a lot of medicine too with the herbs and stuff. The Testament of Solomon is a pseudepigraphal work attributed to King Solomon, the wise of the Old Testament. It was written in first-person narrative, and the book tells the story of the creation of the magical ring of King Solomon and how Solomon's ring was used to bind and control demons, including Beelzebub. And this is important too, because Beelzebub is mentioned several times in the New Testament, one in Mark 3. In the book, the King Solomon, his disclosures between the king and various spirits was told. The story shows how Solomon used the wisdom to withstand demons, tricks, and guile to enlist their aid to help him build the second temple. Okay, when we look at Mark, I'm going to blow this up for a minute so I can read easier. When we look at Mark 3, 13 through 21, then he went up on the mountain and he summoned those he wanted, and they came to him. He also appointed 12, and he named them apostles to be with him, to send them out to preach, and they have authority to drive out demons. He appointed these 12. To Simon he gave the name Peter, and I'm going to show y'all later on how Peter is mentioned in the Old Testament. We never see it, but it is in there in the Hebrew. And to James, and it says the son of Zebedee. The son of is not in the Greek text. It's just James Zebedee. He gave them the name the Boanerges, which is the sons of thunder. Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, and then there's another son of that's not in there, Arpasus, Anthiasus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who also betrayed him. And this is the interesting part. Then when he went home, the crowd gathered again, and they were not even able to eat. So it upset them so bad that he did this, they weren't even able to eat. And when his family heard this, they set out to restrain him because they said he's out of his mind. So they literally thought that Jesus was out of his mind when he named them apostles. So that tells you right there the definition of apostle we have is not what we think today. Okay. And when it goes on down in Mark 3, it says, and the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, he hath Beelzebub, and by the prince of devils does cast out devils. Now, this has taken us to those books of Solomon. So apparently they were reading those books of Solomon. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables or comparisons. Okay, so he's using comparisons. How can Satan cast out Satan? And if the kingdom be divided against itself, the kingdom cannot stand. And if the house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end. No man can enter into the strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house. Verily I say unto you, all sins will be forgiven unto men, sons of men, and the blasphemies wherein soever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Spirit shall never have forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation, because he has said he had an unclean spirit. So he's defining that for us. He's saying because he said that Jesus had an unclean spirit, they won't be forgiven. Okay. And then it goes on into a part about his mothers and his brothers. And this is interesting too, because he said, then came the brethren and his mother standing without, and sent unto him, calling him. And the multitude sat about him, and they said, Behold, thy mother and thy brother without seek of thee. And he answered them, saying, Who is my mother? Who is my brethren? And he looked around on them, and they sat about him, and said, Behold, my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of God, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother. So the ones doing the will of God are the ones that are his. Okay, I want to cover this real quick because this is the legal definition we have. It's a messenger, an envoy, or a delegate for the apostles. But if that was the case, the people wouldn't have thought he was out of his mind just because he named them that. But it can also mean one commissioned by another to represent him in some way. All right, went over that. This is how grave and bad. I'm going to move this some so you can see it. How grave and bad what Peter did was. It's like, now Peter was sitting, this is in Matthew 26, 69 through 75. Peter was sitting outside the courtyard, and one of the servant girls came to him saying, You also were with Jesus of the Galilean. But the one denied in front of everyone, saying, I do not know what you're saying. So that's your first denial. But the one denying in front of everyone, saying, I do not know what you're saying. And he, having gone out of the gate, another saw him and said to him, This one was with Jesus the Nazarene. And again he denied it with an oath, I do not know that man. And having come after a little while, the one standing there said to Peter, But you also are one of them, for even your speaking makes you evident. And he began to curse and to swear with an oath that I do not know that man. And immediately the rooster crowed, and Peter remembered the words that Jesus had spoken to him, that before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. And having gone outside, he wept bitterly, because he knew it was over at that point. Because that was the unforgivable sin. He knew he had just committed it. Okay, and it says in Matthew 10:31, indicate that Peter's sin was deadly. Whoever disowns me before others, I will also deny before my Father in heaven. And interesting enough, it's flipping on me. I'm going to blow this up so I can read it. Even AI agrees with my take on some of this. It's like Simon is vastly connected to the word Shema, which is in Deuteronomy, where they say the Shema, and you know, about Israel being one and all this stuff. It's like Simon, in the book of Genesis, Lee names her son Simon because the Lord heard, or Shema, that she was hated, and implied that the name meant he heard, or one who has been heard. Okay. The etymology highlights the dual nature of Shema. It's a Hebrew word meaning hear or listen, and Simon is derived from Shema, meaning he heard, or one who has heard. So his name is connected. Now, I went to Abram Publishing and I looked there too, and they have the same thing. They say the same thing. So, okay. And also interesting historical documents about what happened. Simon, son of Joseph, was a former slave of Herod the Great, who rebelled and was killed by the Romans sometime after Herod's death in 4 BC. Some have identified him as possibly being the Messiah of Gabriel's revelation. But when you read Josephus, there was one Simon, they said, had elevated, this man elevated at a disorderly state of things, and was so bold as to put a diadem on his head and declare himself king. And I believe that's what happened. I think that's how Peter became the first pope. And he was said to do all kinds of weird things like fly through the air to save himself and stuff like that. He did all kinds of strange things. And everybody's going to say that's Simon Magus, but I think they're one and the same. Because Simon was always about what's in it for us if we do this for you. If we follow you, what's in it for us? And then we have statements by Jesus. It's like in John 6:70, Jesus answered them, Did I not choose you, the 12, yet one of you is the devil? Okay, in John 13:2, and supper having occurred, the devil having put already in the heart of Judas, and we have son of Simon. Son of is not in the Greek manuscripts. You can go check it, but it's not there. It literally reads Judas Simon Iscariot, that he should betray him. It tells you who's going to betray him. And Judas and Judah are the same words in both Hebrew and Greek. So it could literally say the heart of the Judean Simon Iscariot, that he should betray him. So I think there's been a lot of monkeying around with this stuff. Let's see what else. All right, I'm going to switch gears here. Bring up another file. And you can see what's going on in Rome. Even today, there sits Peter on his chair as a statue, and they dress him up, and they have a holiday to him, and he has the diadem on. And that little horse-shaped looking thing there, that's at the main four-horned altar. That's the primary focus of the whole church. And that is Peter's altar. And underneath down there, in that horseshoe area that's dug in, is where he is buried. There's that's a picture of the actual, where you can look through the glass and see his bones and stuff. They have the chains hanging there too, that supposedly he had when he was incarcerated after Jesus died in Acts. And this is the main focal point of the church. Bernini was commissioned to create this large bronze throne, which is raised up high with four loping supports and held effortlessly and it's got the doctors of the church, they call them, holding it up. And it has a big old round stained glass thing that looks like a jasper up above it. It has the two angels, and this chair was enshrined in its new home with great celebration on the 16th of January, 1666. Pretty interesting. But that's the focal point. There's no focal point on Jesus in that church. That's St. Peter's Cathedral, too. All right. I like to blow this up to read it. Bernini's final work for St. Peter's, undertook in 1676, was the decoration of the chapel sacrament to hold the sacramental host. He designed a miniature version of gilt bronze of the Brownite's Tempito. The little chapel marks the place of the death of St. Peter. Also, this is marking another marker for St. Peter. On either side is an angel, one gazing rapport adoration, and the other looking toward the viewer that's welcomed. So that's another shrine to him. And this is the four-horned altar. See if I can blow that up some. And that thing literally matches the four-horned altar in Ezekiel's third temple exactly. In fact, the Vatican is the third temple. It matches Ezekiel's temple down to the number of steps going up in the building. I have 2 videos on that. Now, granted, they were done a while back, and I was still in the Hebrew roots, but they still stand today as far as matching up and lining up with exactly what we have in the book of Ezekiel. Okay. I think I'm going to stop there for tonight. And because this is a lot of material on him, there's going to be a lot more. Because I want to go into the Old Testament where Yahweh calls him Behemoth. Um, there's a lot more to this. And we'll open up for questions. Y'all still
Shannon,
there?
I know Shannon usually have a good question. Maybe it didn't develop yet.
First, can we see if Marie is visible in your
Oh yeah, let me
thing
check.
now, Golem? Not sure if we can't see her still, but.
I think
Oh,
I
she's
got her
up.
this. There's
Yep, she's
Marie.
there. Good. There you Hi,
Hey,
Marie.
Marie.
Finally, hello.
There you go. She was afraid to miss this when this wasn't really important to her.
So does anybody in the chat have questions? If you do, don't be afraid to ask it. I'm should I ask the two questions from YouTube, or should we give it a couple more minutes on topic?
We'll give it a minute. I wanted to say, too, that while I was reading Mark 3, that whole chapter ties in with those Solomon books. I don't know if y'all were noticing that or not. That's why I brought it up. It's like it all meshes together. So they had to have access to those books. Because the mention of Beelzebub and then the apostles being from Stolas, I mean, it's all the same.
Yeah, I think I was saying earlier that I think the Catholic Church definitely know much more than the Christians do about these type of things, even though it's like undercover for them. I don't think Christians know much about this like at all.
Really, I don't think they do either. Like when I was Catholic back when I was young, I knew none of this stuff. It's like I had to get older and a lot more wiser, and then have Father's help to figure out any of this. It's like it's just wild. I keep trying to figure out if it was the Christ one that set them up, or if he was just naming them that, and that's why they thought he was crazy. You know. But I do think
Which
it
one
was.
did you end with?
I think it was the Christ one that took him up to the Last Supper because of that dipping the bread in that salt and putting it in his mouth, and then the devil entered him. That had to have been him. You know.
Hmm. So interesting because I know you didn't get to it yet. I'm sure you're gonna bring it up the next time. I was hoping you get to it tonight when you was talking about how the meaning of Samuel coming up from the grave.
Yeah. It's
And
it's the same word. That Shema word is like it's almost like the word for God. It's also tied to Hashem. They're all tied together. Those words.
Chris at the bottom says, wait till we hear about Peter the owl in Kabbalah. You said you kind of knew some of that, know of some of that stuff, and you brought the owl up earlier. Like it can look like an owl or a man.
Right.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, the binding and loosening is also a Jewish thing too, and that's witchcraft. Where he said, "Whoever sins you bind, and whoever's you loosen." Because that threw me for a big loop when I came out of Wicca and I was reading the New Testament. I was like, "What in the world?"
It's crazy. It says, book him as Jesus called who the devil. He called Peter the devil, and that's the only person he called the devil. Am I
He
right?
he called Satan. He called him Satan or an
Satan.
accuser, and then he called Yahweh the devil in John 8. You know where he said he was a liar and an unaliver from the beginning. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and he was talking to the Jews, so he was talking about the one they worshipped. He said, "You don't know me nor my Father."
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear cut and dry, or at least on that one right there, Yahweh being the devil. I can't even see how people can't see it now. But
This was one I kind of hesitated to bring up, but then after I got to thinking about it, it's like in Revelation where it says that, and Satan who says he laid no further burden on them than these, and that's the same thing Peter said in Acts. You know,
yeah,
is
Is
don't
this
lay
but
any
supposed to
further
be?
burden on them than these things.
Yeah. Is this supposed to be a picture of Simon Peter on the cross upside down
Yes,
because
he
he
was.
asked to be hung upside down?
Yeah, he asked to be upside down, and he's the one that started the phrase in the Acts of Peter, "As above, so below."
Yeah, I was just thinking that myself. It was the picture, like even the picture was like, okay, that looks like the Baphomet thing, and you know,
Book 'em, I don't really think there's a whole lot of difference because when you look at the way John lists them in Revelation, he lists it like they're all one and same thing. That old red dragon that's called um, Satan
the
and the
devil and
devil,
Satan.
and yeah,
Uh, you brought up earlier that how Peter being crucified upside down, it looks like that star.
yeah,
And then Jesus crucified right side up is like the other side of it, and that's the as above so below concept as well.
yeah. And there were three of them. Philip was also he was crucified upside down, and so I think it was Bartholomew. There were three of them.
Really?
That's also the Catholics when they do that, the cross on their, when they touch their head and then their heart, and then they go from left to right. They're signaling the upside down cross. I mean, they're worshiping Satan.
Yeah, they sing that song on the Passover Eve, and they're actually singing Latin O Lucifer. You know,
Yeah, I've seen
Yes, I
that.
saw that. Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah,
but they
that's
worship
crazy.
Peter. That's who they worship, and I think the Jews have a special secret fast to Peter too. There's a couple of videos on YouTube. One of them's by a Kabbalah Orthodox rabbi, and he talks about how Peter was set up to get everybody under the Noahide laws, and therefore he's honored. And then there was another one that says the same thing as an older rabbi. And I have those on Discord if anybody wants to watch them. They're under that file. But I was amazed. I'm like,
Marie, you have to speak up. You're on the panel. Ask the question.
Sorry, I was gonna ask. It's just I don't know if she mentioned it. What about the part when Peter or Jesus had forgave Peter? Did you mention anything of that? I just missed it, so that's why I'm not sure.
that's an interesting one because I think that the one that was on the beach was the Christ one because he shows up at the boat and they're not catching anything, and then he says throw the net on the other side, and they haul in this huge bunch of fish, and the fish were symbolic because he said he was going to make them fishermen of men. Okay, when they get to him on the beach, he already has the fire started. It says a charcoal, and the fish are on it. It's like, I don't know why, but my heart sunk when I read that. I was like, oh my gosh, that is the bad one. And he was telling Peter, feed my fish, 3 times. He doesn't ever really say that he forgave him. He just said, feed my fish.
Wasn't there a part when?
I think he said, "Feed my little sheep."
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't there?
And I remember
Yeah,
a
feed my
long time
sheep. I'm
ago
sorry. I don't know why I said fish. I had
when
fish
I
on the
was in
brain.
when I was in a long time ago when I was indoctrinated. They said that he asked him 3 separate times, "Do you love me more than these?" And I don't know if it's true, but he was referring to the fish because Peter was a fisherman, and he said, "Yes, I do," and he said, "Feed my little sheep," and then he asked him again, and then he said, you know I have love for you. And he said something like, feed my little sheep. And then he asked him one more time, and then Peter responds and says, I don't have the scripture in front of me, I'm going by memory, but he says, you know all things. You know that I have love for you, or something to that effect. And he says again, feed my sheep. And it was 3 times because he denied him 3 times. So he was like trying to prove a point to him. That's what I remember learning a long time ago. I don't know if it has anything to do with what we're talking about tonight, but that's what I do remember about it.
Could it be that he denied one and accepted the other?
Say that again, Tim.
Like he denied Jesus Barabbas and then he accepted Jesus Christ?
That's what I'm thinking. That was my thoughts. Because they set up the Christ one, and Jesus rebuked him for calling him Christ. And he said that he commanded them never to call him that ever again. And it's like, then immediately in Acts you'll have him saying there's no other name by which you will be saved except Jesus Christ. So I have a feeling he knew he was already, in trouble. He'd already done the ultimate. So they just carried on out with it. That's my take on it now. Everybody may differ with me, and they might get mad at me for saying that. But it's just pretty evident today that still 2,000 years later, they're rubbing the toes off of the statue of him and still worshiping him and having holidays to him and everything. It's just something's not right there.
Artist, in the scriptures, it was Mark 3, right?
Right.
Yeah. Is Jesus Barabbas and Jesus Christ mixed up in that account, or is it all Jesus Barabbas, or is it all Jesus Christ? I read it over and I just got more confused.
I know. It's hard to tell what's
Which
going
Mark are you
on
talking
there.
about again?
Mark 3.
3:30?
Mark chapter 3, the one I just read from tonight.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was JC just because I think I brought it up to artists of just a mother brother concept. Let me go back to it. Something stood out to me, and I was like, maybe that's JC. But oh, you know what it was? It's because he said that the unforgivable sin was to call him Beelzebub. I want to
Right.
say. And then with the other Jesus said the unforgivable sin is not that he said it's the unforgivable sin, but it's the only thing that, he said that he would deny someone for. And it was, if you deny me before men. So we got 2 different unforgivables. And then just looking at which one's more reasonable, like to deny someone for just calling you a name, like, come on. How old are we? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, and then you've got another unforgivable sin in Revelation, taking the mark of the beast. You've
yeah.
got there's 3 different.
And that one's John's account though, correct?
Yep.
I probably would go with the Matthew one over all of them. It just seems to be the most credible. But yeah,
You can see why with 2 of them running around saying different things, why these atheists and stuff can tear this apart. If you don't know there's 2, it would be just like you could have a heyday of comparisons.
yeah. I remember what it was though, because they said to him, "See, your mother and your brothers are outside seeking you," and they didn't know who the other Jesus. They didn't recognize the other Jesus. John had to point him out twice. JC got brothers in a mother, but and I say JC, Jesus Christ, he got brothers and a mother, but Jesus Barabbas, his father is in heaven. He don't have a brother.
Yeah. He's the one. There is no other.
Yeah, it's just him. So that's what made me think that's Jesus Christ as well.
Could be.
In the Mark 3 one. And
Yeah, that's
that's the
true.
same Mark where he names them sons of thunder and stuff like that,
Right.
But then you
So
have, sorry, Tim, but then you have Jesus in Mark 3 when they say, hey, your family's outside, your mother and your brothers. And he said, who is my
who
mother
is
and
my
my
mother?
brother? Like, he doesn't know who these people are. And he turns to the people he's with and says, you're my mother and my brothers. And
I
that
think that was
made
a
me think,
teaching. Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, man.
oh, I just, I read that part and I'm like, well, oh, is that, maybe that's Jesus Barabbas because he doesn't have a mother and brothers. But like I said, I read the whole thing and I had trouble trying to figure out which Jesus was speaking. It all I was leaning towards all of it was JC.
Yeah, and I had the same thought, so I thought the same thing. But at the same time, you could mean that, and that's the thing about words, they can mean so much more, especially in their original language. But because we call people our brother and sister right now in this group, and we didn't come from the same parents,
Right.
so it's figurative. He's like the person that's my mother, my brother is the one that is in alignment with me, the same way y'all are my brothers and sisters because we all love the Father and love what He teaches the same way. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I take from that one. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying that JC is gonna have a terrible message every time he opens his mouth. He has to look like a good guy. He has to deceive in some kind. That's what deceiving is. Looking like one but being another. Sheep in wolf clothing. Oh, I said that backwards. A wolf in sheep clothing. Lucifer appear as an angel of light. I mean, it's all there. You know. So I think that's why Jesus kept saying to distinguish, because who is my mother and brother could be looked at as a worldly thing. To not forgive somebody for calling you a name could be looked at as an earthly. But yeah,
Right.
that's all. That's all I had. I didn't want to go off too long. What are your thoughts on that, Shannon? And David asked in the. Go ahead, Shannon.
I get where you're coming from. I still am struggling with it, like trying to figure out who was speaking. Because, like you just said, he was speaking about earthly things, mothers and brothers, and who wouldn't be the unforgivables.
Uh-oh. It looked like you went to the background. I don't know if the phone's in your pocket and maybe you pressed something on accident.
Uh, yeah, I think I pushed a button on my phone. Can you?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I accidentally pushed a button. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna keep looking into it, and I'll watch this live later on YouTube and go over it again. What do you think, artist, with Mark 3, that what we just read tonight? Do you think, percentage-wise, do you think that there's most of it is Jesus Christ speaking, or is most of it Jesus Barabbas speaking?
That's a hard call, actually. For me, it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
I'm
struggling
still
with it
looking
too.
at it, but I wanted to bring it up because I don't think people made the connection between like the apostolos or the apostles and the Beelzebub and all that being from the
Right.
lesser keys of Solomon and greater keys of Solomon. It's like that used to be, from my understanding, that used to be a part of the Jewish book too, and they took it out. And you know,
And
King James wrote the book of demonology, which is basically the same thing as a
yeah.
separate
So
book.
what I'm thinking, what's got me wondering is, would Jesus Barabbas be referring to all that stuff?
I'm sure he knew about it. You know, he could have.
So if Jesus Barabbas named them apostles, was it because he was trying to expose them and calling them out, so to speak?
Apparently, they didn't expect him, whoever it was, to say it because they thought he had gone crazy, you know. So they weren't expecting it. And that used to throw me when I'd read that chapter. It was like, why did they think he was crazy all of a sudden? But you know, a lot of things tell you little stuff like when he goes in and he raises the little girl, you know, and what's her name, Tabitha, whatever her name is, that died and unalived. They laughed at him then, you know, like he wouldn't be able to do that, you know. And
because he said she was just sleeping or something.
right, and it's like if you were really with him and in his presence, do you think you'd be laughing at him? You know, it's like, I don't think so. You know, and then like afterwards, after the resurrection, you know, when the women came to tell him that he was not in the tomb no more, they didn't believe then either. They were like, you know, it said they did not believe him. So there's a lot of weirdness there in the interaction. And he was constantly rebuking them and stuff. You know, it's like Peter got rebuked several times.
I actually noticed something, and I don't know. You guys can tell me your opinion if I'm reaching here, but I'm back in Mark 3, and it says that he asked. I think. Hold on. He asked them to prepare a boat for him always, so the crowd don't throng him. But I think that the other Jesus wasn't afraid for people to get close to him, and I think even when people did try to arrest him before he was ready, they couldn't. Remember, and it's like he would just pass through him or some type of way.
Yeah.
So I just thought that might be a little tidbit, maybe, or a clue.
Yeah, that does kind of sound like JC.
I'm trying to find exactly where that was because I'm jumping all over the freaking chapter right now. Hold on.
I keep looking for little clues like that, you know.
Yeah, you really got to read it and pay attention to it and really, take away all the distractions and just really look at it. You know, it's it's kind of like the only way. Let me see.
Artist, you mentioned when JC told him to throw the net on the other side of the boat, and they caught a big load of fish, 156 fish, which I recall you said that was a special number to Judaism. But what I thought was interesting is Peter. Jesus said, "Bring the fish up here," or something, and Peter grabbed the net with this huge load of fish, and he hauled that thing up onto the beach by himself. And I remember somebody a long time ago, a couple years ago, said that Peter, he had some kind of superhuman strength to be able to do something like that. And that always kind of stuck with me. I'm like, what is it about this Peter dude that he's able to just grab this net that took a whole ship? It's a ship. It's not a little boat. It says,
Right.
well, I think it's in the KJV, it says a ship. And Peter grabbed that net and hauled it up to the land by himself. I always thought that was strange.
That is strange. And you know, after everything was said and done in Acts, they were still going into the temple and doing sacrifices and all too, according to Acts.
Well, Peter was doing it too, right?
Yeah, it was all of them because James talks about it.
I did kind of notice they still started following like the law. You know what I'm saying? Not all of them, I don't think, but they still kept some of their customs. Almost like
Yeah,
they was making a new religion and
they
getting
were
ready to
basically
start this
giving the
one.
Gentiles the Noahide laws.
Yeah,
You know.
starting the church. And that's another
Do
thing
you?
he said. Oh,
Sorry.
go
No, you
ahead,
go
brother.
ahead. No,
I'm always
I
up
want
here, bro.
to.
Go ahead.
I want to stay on. I want to hear more about what you wanted to say. I had a separate question. It's kind of off topic, but about Peter.
Oh man, well keep it in mind then. I really don't mind you going first though. Um, wow, wow, I'm about to forget it. No, no, it's slipping away, y'all. It's slipping
Where's your
away.
paper, Tim?
I'm and
Where's
I
your
got some
pen?
stuff on it already. I already.
I know.
Oh man,
I need to get a pen and paper too because I can't remember what I was going to say. It'll come up later though.
man, I wish someone could jog my memory by saying some keywords that were said about 15 seconds ago. Dang it, it was about JC, that's for sure. It was another hint, but it'll come back to
What
me.
What about the who was it? Which Jesus was it that was walking on the water? And Peter Peter gets off the boat and starts
Thank you.
walking on water
I remember it
and
now
looks at the
too.
waves. You do?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
What was that your question though?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm just kind of shooting from the hip.
Okay, I
I
just
got
wrote yours
lots of
down. What you
questions. I
just
can,
said.
huh?
I just wrote what you just said down, and I'm gonna answer mine before I lose it.
Okay.
See that verse right there? That's what I was talking about. He's in there. It's H6363 and H6362. And the reason I say they're both him is because the spelling is exactly the same, and the code did not come around. The vowel points were not there until the 1600s. So there were no vowel points in the original manuscripts of the Old Testament. And it's like, it says, to me, devote all to me of the firstborn, Peter, all of the womb, or that can also mean Egyptian vulture, from my son Israel, in Edom, and he is the beast to me. And it's like the word beast is behemoth in Hebrew. And see, nobody would ever know that's there unless you really go look that up. Because they put it as that which separates. But when you look at the word in Hebrew, it's Peter.
And that's what brought me to the because he says upon this rock, right? Which could mean Peter too.
Yeah, I will build my
Uh,
church. Uh huh.
I'll build my church, and then church. Jesus didn't make a church.
Nope.
He didn't. So that has to be JC right there.
Yep.
Tracy, that comment you made in the chat about Nephilim with the question mark, were you referring to possibly Peter was Nephilim? That was that teaching that I heard a long time ago. That's what this person was alluding to, is that Peter
Can't
was
read that.
from that stock, Nephilim stock. Don't know if it's true or not.
I just found this amazing. He's in the Old Testament a bunch too. He's in that verse about in Ezekiel where he said he gave them uh, laws that weren't good so that they would not live. He's in that verse too. It's like,
Yeah, you say that, artist, and I noticed that all these people kind of they like I said, they worship death, and if you haven't noticed that all of these people that sell their souls and become famous, they don't they get very famous after they die, and they almost glorify the way that they die. Like Peter, how he wanted to die upside down. It's like, who plans for this? It's because they worship death, you
Yeah.
know. And Peter knew what he was getting into because he already denied life 3 times. Did you want to say something, Sally?
No, I had to exit and come back in because I lost the chat. It stopped showing up for some reason.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you're back. I was wondering what happened. If nobody else have any questions, I'll ask some of the. Oh wait, hold on. You said Shannon. You said upon which Jesus walked on the water. I think that was a sign, but not that I don't think that Barabbas could do that, but I just for some reason I see that like as a sign or a wonder. While I think Jesus Barabbas just did healings and good works. What verse is
It,
that so we can analyze it?
you know, I remember reading or learning too that I think it was JC when they were out on the water, like after the storm. Then it says immediately the ship was at the shore. Like it didn't take any time at all to get there. Like it was some kind of wonder
Yeah.
that it happened that quick. And I always thought that was strange. I think that's in the KJV.
That always brings me back to when they was discussing amongst themselves who was greater. And again, the Jesus that we know and love doesn't teach anyone to be greater than each other. So they had to be discussing who was greater amongst the two Jesuses because they knew of, you know, they knew of one because of he was born and he went to school, he learned how to walk, he got lost going to the synagogue. They knew who that one was, and they even said so. They said, "Isn't this the same Jesus that from Joseph and Mary?" You know, but the Jesus of Barabbas they didn't know, and they didn't know where he was from. They asked him where he was from. He told them, "I'm from the Father. I'm from heaven. My kingdom not of this world." John the Baptist had to point him out twice before anyone even followed him, and he had to call him the Lamb. Um, and that's if that was even correct too, because I haven't analyzed that yet since coming to this truth. But yeah, like it's just a clear difference.
And they
Are you
asked
the
him, "Are
one?
you the one?"
Yes.
They didn't know. They're like, "Who is this guy?" And that makes me think that they were confused about which Jesus it was.
And then he wasn't even direct. Jesus Barabbas was actually pretty direct. He didn't dodge any questions. You know what I'm saying? Like he would just answer a question directly, even though he might say it in the parable. But that Jesus said, "Hey, tell him that the hungry is fed and the people." You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, people are healed, and he wasn't really direct, so that kind of raised a eyebrow for me. Like The Rock from WWE back in the day.
Hi, Chris.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Oh, not bad. I was just it was funny when I saw your topic for today, when I saw your post earlier. Yesterday, I spent most of my day um I can brainstorm while I'm at work, but I'm running machines, so I can't really get too distracted, but I sit there and brainstorm, and I was brainstorming about this exact uh sa- situation. And I started digging into when I got off work about Peter and I came across the same thing that you brought up at the beginning about Peter representing an owl. So I was looking up in Jewish mysticism in Kabbalah, because I always like to see what I look to the enemy to see where it contradicts, what I'm trying to, find the differences. So in the Jewish mysticism, the owl is a representative of Peter and also a representative of divine judgment. And there's warnings in Leviticus. I can't remember where I found it. I think it was 6 maybe. And there was some in Psalms and some in Isaiah. I was just literally digging into it, so they're not even in my memory yet. But where Jesus, or where Peter is considered to be the judge of the fish, and I believe that's where he got the title fisherman. I don't think I was thinking, maybe he wasn't even a fisherman. Maybe that's what they were talking about, because in the Old Testament, the divine, what do they call it? The divine something. Hold on a second. I got it on the other page. I'll be right back. That's what it is. Divine providence is one of their main teachings. And that's where I was connecting it with, I mentioned it somewhat in the chat with Tracy. I was talking. That's where it lines up. There's a lot in the Old Testament that lines up with the Gnostic text, but it's cryptic. That the Jews actually knew the truth of a soul trap, and this realm being a soul trap. But like what Tim was just talking about the the people that sell their souls, they don't mind, coming back here. They want to come back because they've got it made. They made a deal with the devil, so that's what, and in Leviticus, it leads to it. Isaiah, it leads to it. Psalms, it leads to it. And a couple different articles I found out about stuff from the Talmud. I don't know if you've ever read into the Talmud, but the Jewish mystics believed in reincarnation also, and the soul trap, and they wanted to just be the top dogs here. And as long as they kept worshiping Yahweh, they came back and were the top dogs. But, he did them dirty anyway because he's the devil. So, but Peter is considered the judge. Oh, well, Peter, the owl, is considered the judge of the fish in the sea. And I was curious on your thoughts on some of Revelation. I'm sure is about our Jesus, and some of it's about JC. So when Revelation, it says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea. And there's like 7 different scriptures I found about through the Talmud and the Jewish mysticism that they teach that your judgment, there's going to be judge of even the fish in the sea by Yahweh. And I was wondering your thoughts on, do you think when Jesus was walking on water, it was kind of an expression maybe of, I'm even above, the judges of the fish in the sea. I'm judging, if that was our Jesus, or, the woe to the inhabitants of the sea, he would have been warning the fish also, because I don't know why, but for some reason Jews want fish judged. And Peter the owl was considered their judge.
He may have been showing that Peter didn't have the faith that he
Right.
needed.
That's what I was.
You know,
That's That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. You would agree with that?
and somewhat, yeah. It's that's a hard one to call because that's kind of reading in between the lines.
Yeah. I always do that.
Oh, I do too. I mean, I'll keep looking until I find something concrete on it. Sometimes.
Any
Yeah,
good
I just
detective will
started
do it.
yesterday.
Leave no stones unturned, right?
I'm gonna hook my mic up and
That's
see if I
right.
can get this to play for y'all. I don't know if it'll work or not like this. It may echo like crazy. We'll see.
Oh, okay. So, Albert Gotti, forgive me if I butcher your name. He wanted to come up tonight to introduce himself to the group, and I think he was talking about it on the Discord. Um,
Step down.
Yeah, I can step down. Show you how.
I guess whoever. I mean, we have a second anyway because the artist is going to show us something, but just give us a second, Albert Gotti. Thank you, Shannon. Peace and love, brother.
Should be right there. We'll see if this works.
Don't you be interrupting nobody tonight.
Just to mention regarding that ban is the dangerous Kabbalah is that they want people not studying until they're ready for it because of various reasons. That dangerous Kabbalistic stuff is no longer accessible today, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Can y'all hear that?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Hear ya.
It's not, no one would be able to understand that stuff. I myself, I've been kind of emphasizing in the mystical traditions of Judaism for over 20 years now. Whenever I find my way to a piece of Torah that's the dangerous stuff, I never can make heads or tails. I don't understand what in the world's going on over there. We're just not on that level anymore. We're not on the level of scholarship anymore to be dangerous, for Kabbalah to be dangerous to ourselves or to anyone else by you having studied it. Is that clear? So we don't have to worry so much about that ban. Matter manipulation was used also responsibly, most notably, and this is a little controversial because a lot of people want to deny this happened, but the first pope was actually a Jewish scholar. And this first pope, who was this great scholar, he was not a pope, he was a rabbi living in Jaffa. He was a fisherman. And to this day, the pope wears a ring that has a fisherman on it from this first pope. But the first pope was actually just a great rabbi. And the Jews were being terribly hassled by the early Christians who were hanging around Israel. And he had an idea. He says, if you give me permission, he went to the sages. He said, if you give me permission, I would like to go to the temple and ask the Kohanim for certain names of God that only they're allowed to use. And I will use them, create miracles, get all the Christians excited about it, and then move them out of Israel. And he says, but I'll do it under one condition, that the punishment for doing such a thing will fall on all of us. I don't want to take all the blame. Meaning I'll be the fall guy, but we're sharing the punishment from heaven for using the names of God for this. And they agreed. He went to the temple and he got the names from the Kohanim, and he started doing acts of wonders for the early Christians. And when they all got rallied behind him, he says, we're moving to Rome. And everyone's like, what? And he says, that's right. It's the word of God. We're moving to Rome. And all the early Christians were like, Rome it is. We're with Bozo. And they all went to Rome. This was 2,000 years ago. It was the time of the beginning of Christianity. And they moved to Rome, and he became known as the first pope. I'll give you one more example, and that is a group of Kabbalists used the names of God for rain during an extreme drought about I could tell you exactly how many years ago if I knew any math, but it would be, this is the 6th year of the Shemitah cycle. And it was 7 years ago. So it was the 6th year of the previous Shemitah cycle. We needed rain really bad. Israel just did not get any rain. And so these Kabbalists went up in an airplane. Not that Kabbalists need an airplane, but they did it. They made a whole media event out of it. And they went up in an airplane and they flew around Israel, I think 3 times. They flew over Israel. Something that wouldn't be recommended today, given the war we're in the middle of. But they flew around Israel 3 times, saying these very specific names of God that have to do with rain, and including the certain supplications that bring rain. And lo and behold, satellite picture, clouds form over the land of Israel. There was no rain in Europe. There was no rain in north of us, nor the rain in Turkey. None of the rain even went over to to Jordan. Literally cloud.
Okay.
He was talking about the whole fish ring. The Pope's hat is actually a fish, a mouth, the head and mouth of a fish.
Yep. It's actually from Dagon, the Egyptian god Dagon. That's their fish god. There's actually hieroglyphs of it all through Egypt, with pharaohs wearing Dagon's fish hat. It looks exactly like the Pope hat. Yep, you got it, Albert. Is it Albert or? You're up, Albert. You can talk.
Albert Gotti. Go ahead.
I'm just going to call him Gotti.
Hi, Albert.
Floor,
You
brother.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey. Hi to all. I'm happy to be here to share with you and your group. Sorry for my English. I speak Italian and live in the Italian part of Switzerland. But I
Awesome.
understand almost everything. Yes. You hear me? Yes.
Yeah, I hear you.
And from Egyptian.
And I would like to thank you for all your various contributions in the various live broadcasts in the past week. It's really beautiful and pleasant to be able to listen to certain profound speech of the character of your Father in heaven. People who know the true Father find and meet, I think. And I find your group, and I'm very, very happy to be here. And also in the Discord group is wonderful. You are all you are wonderful.
We're happy to have you.
Well, we're definitely glad to meet you. It's always nice to
my
have
name,
people that
my
want to
name,
talk and
my
not
name
argue and
is
interrupt people all the time.
Manuele. My name. You can.
Chris, you're breaking up, brother. I'm sorry, Albert. Chris, you're breaking up. Yeah.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Chris was just trying to speak at the same time. He didn't know you were speaking because he was having a bad connection. But go ahead.
Yes, my name is Manuele. So you can. This is fantastic for me because I still have no one in my language who has understood this truth, and therefore discussing them. And this is, I am a little alone, no? And I am happy to find you.
I'm happy we found each other.
Thank you so
Yes.
much, Albert. Or Manuel.
What do you
How
go
did
by?
you find us? Yeah.
Also, putting in YouTube some word as to Jesus or something else, and I found something. I found before a guy in YouTube that too old dude or too old brother, and
Oh, right. Okay.
And after I find the video from artists, and I see all this video. I see, yes, and I agree with you for all.
That's great. I'm glad you found us.
I grew up in an evangelical church and therefore Sunday school, etc. And I was active for years in various sectors and the church. And we also have weekly meeting at home, and that was very nice because you talk to real people with real problems and not with pastor or in the church and so. And for 5 or 6 years we have my family, we have been free from every institution, and we have begun to understand something more, no?
Praise the
To be
Father.
clear, I believe that Yahweh is our enemy and not our Father. And also I believe that there are two Jesus, and I believe in the Barabbas one. And I believe that in reality we are in the darkness, in the abyss of Yahweh and his demons, and something so that until you recognize the Father, you continue to be reborn in this world like an infinite loop. And
I think that too.
Yeah, you sound like you're right on the same page we are. Yeah.
And yeah, I almost certainly believe that the Bible is counterfeit, or that not all books are good or mistranslated, or these things. And you have to divide each scripture to understand who is speaking. Yes.
We agree.
But you can say this not so apertly, because they put you on the cross, no? If you touch the Bible, it's a problem for
Yeah, they
every
do.
Christian.
It's bad, isn't it?
Kind of like the Ark of the Covenant.
Sorry?
Kind of like the Ark of the Covenant. The guy touched it and he died.
Yeah, that's the opposite of life,
Yes.
right? They must have
Right.
went and touched death.
Yeah, I was going to say that'd be a Yahweh gesture.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
Albert, I just wanted to say to you before we got too far away from it that we all go down, go down these different roads, but since we are all seeking, we all end up seeking in the same kind of places, kind of how a fisherman gonna go somewhere near water. So that's the reason why I think we find each other is the genuine,
Right.
honest seeking, and we end up going to the same places, So
I always tell
glad I
people
found
that's
you.
how you love the Father. That's how you show him love, but searching for him.
Well, he said seeking you will find. They're not gonna give you the information. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Don't you be interrupting me. Sorry. I knew last night as soon as that guy came on and said he was an attorney, I knew it was going to be bad.
Yeah, we moved past that.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to go back over last
I was
night.
just cracking
We're
a
not
joke.
going back there. Yeah.
But yeah, Albert, you seem well spoken, man. Even for having the language barrier there, like, and I can understand how hard that could be to not have anyone that you can talk to that's relatable with the truth that you know. So I'm glad you found us.
Yes.
You got a family, and there's people like me that work overnight. So at any time of the day, you probably have someone to ask a question to or talk to. So,
Okay.
well,
And yeah.
where are you living right now again?
In Lugano, the Italian part from Switzerland. Yeah.
Okay. What time is it right now over there? You don't mind
Yes,
me?
yes, in 2:25 in the morning. Yes.
Oh man, that's
You're not having any of the
Yes,
flooding, are you?
we are 6 hours more as you, I think. Yes.
yeah.
Yes. It's beautiful speak with you, yes. And you understand that having this revelation so profound, no? That
Oh yeah.
they program you from the matrix, if we can say so, then become difficult to explain it to your loved ones, for example. On only I think of the beautiful story of Noah, of the creation of the garden, of Exodus, Moses, etc. All the beautiful Judaic fairy tales that have been grafted into us. It's difficult to reprogram these strong doctrines grafted into us as children now. And something, even with my wife, I have to be careful how to say certain new truths, especially when you touch the Bible, no?
Mm-hmm.
And yes, now with Peter and Paul, it's,
It's
it's
overwhelming, I
difficult.
know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
You,
finding
we really have to ask the fathers to help us to reprogram ourselves in Him, and always be ready to stand in front of another deception. No?
Right.
Is,
You said it
And it's
so
baby steps,
perfectly.
all,
Sorry, go ahead, Ellen.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
I was just gonna say that you're right. Like if he put it into the fabric, or they put it into the fabrics of our DNA almost, and I think that's the reason why Jesus is like, hey, you got to become a whole other person. You got to be born again. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, born of the
yes, yes.
Spirit.
You know, because it's impossible. Like I think he, again, if there's anything he didn't know what was that was gonna happen, you know, he would have instructed us. You know what I'm saying? He instructed us on everything we needed to know. He knows the future, unlike Yahweh, who repents that he made men. You know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't know the future. Our Father knows the future. You know, so
Yes.
I'm finding more and more historical evidence that the Exodus, all of that, none of that ever happened. It wasn't, and it had nothing to do with the Jews. Historians talk about a desert people that were actually Egyptian citizens, not slaves, that wanted to serve Yahweh. They wanted to change from, because Yahweh was also an Egyptian god, and they wanted to serve just him, who was the storm and war god, one of the 70 brothers of Baal. And they just kind of made, I think they were called maybe it was the Shazu or something like that was their original names. And they weren't even Israelites. Israelites didn't even exist. They took all these different scriptures and tried to, like, from the Enuma Elish, from the Babylonian kings list, and they took all their scriptures, tried to twist them a little bit to make Yahweh look like the Most High, and put them all together. And then the Catholic Church made it even worse because they were losing control of the empire, because all of the divisions in different religions throughout the empire, and they needed to gain control. And the only ones that they couldn't squash was the teachings of Jesus, that Barabbas, who said, hey, all these guys are jerks. They're not God. Stop all of it. None of them are the Most High. None of you know the Most High. You don't even know who God is or what God is. So, and then they had to strap his teachings to the book they were making out of all of the religions of the empire at the Council of Nicaea. So they came up with the whole idea of Israelites and the Hebrews. And historically, this isn't from Christian people or believers. They're just historians, and they say that Israel didn't exist ever, really. And it was all just Rome made up. It was, I believe you've talked on this before, Artist, haven't you? That the Jews were actually Romans.
They were the Romans, yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And historians are now outing that as, yeah, there was no Israelite people. They just twisted that up and made it all up to, like you said, Manuel, fairy tales. So
I want to
it
show
was
y'all
just,
one more. I'm going to show y'all one more video. I found it. It took me a minute, but and I can't remember this. To be fair and honest, this no more news. That's Adam Green. I don't agree with Adam Green on everything that he says. Just to let y'all know that, because he does bash Jesus a lot. But this is very interesting to hear this rabbi speak. Wait a minute, I gotta switch mics. Okay.
People certainly want to look for the reason, right? That incites your curiosity. So the standard reason that's given really makes no sense, because why would this be concealed? It is said that the 9th of Teves was the yahrzeit, was the anniversary of the death of Ezra HaSofer. Now Ezra, right, was the great prophet and Kohen, who was the religious leader of the Jewish people at the beginning of the Second Temple after the 70 years of the Babylonian exile. And it was Ezra that reconstituted the religious community and the observance of the Torah. He organized the men of the Great Assembly, the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, and Chazal consider Ezra to be so great, and his leadership was so essential, that he is compared to Moshe Rabbeinu. And it is said that had the Torah not been given to Moshe, Ezra would have been worthy to receive the Torah from God. And as a result, on the day of his death, we mourn and we grieve to this very day. Now, that's in the Slichos. The Slichos this morning mentions that the 9th of Teves was the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer. But the problem is very obvious. That's not a reason you got to keep secret. I mean, the Gemara says, we fast and we're not telling you why. If it's the yahrzeit of Ezra HaSofer, so that's the reason. It's not a secret. So let me, it's interesting we're talking about the debate with Christian missionary. There are two Christian reasons why the 9th of Teves became a fast that we didn't want to publicize. But in our small group, I will publicize it. One speculation is that the 9th of Teves was the actual birthday of Jesus of Nazareth in the year that he was born. Now, as you know, December 25th as the date of Jesus' birth is bichlal not an accurate date. But Jesus was born towards the end of the solar year, November, December, and of course the Russian Orthodox Church has a different date for Christmas. So according to this tradition, the 9th of Teves was Yashka's birthday. And since the birth of Yashka heralded so many devastating sorrows that the Jewish people have suffered for centuries and centuries, so we make a fast, or some righteous people would make a fast on the day of Yashka's birth, and the Hebrew date was said to be the 9th of Teves, and they've actually seen some astronomical calculations that try to prove that based on the actual year of his birth and the like. And you can well understand why we would not want to publicize that reason, because if the Christians see that we're fasting because we're grieving the death of Yashka, that looks very bad, because that's not like Good Friday where you're fasting.
This is a rabbi that talks about Peter and Paul and their role in the first century and how they undermined everything to get everybody under the Noahide laws.
Because of crucifixion. This is fasting because of his birth, and that would look very bad. But there's a second Christological reference that is even more intriguing and fascinating, and it may be a Baba Maisa, may be totally untrue, or it may be true. We don't have definitive evidence. But this is, it's not from Chazal, it's not in the Medrash, but it comes from sources in Rishonim, like the Machzor Vitri, which was written by disciples of Rashi, and in a famous book of anonymous authorship called Toldos Yeshu. Toldos Yeshu is kind of the Jewish history of Yashka. And this was a widely circulated work in the Middle Ages, anonymous authorship, and actually had multiple versions as well. But here is the story. The story is that the 9th of Teves is a yortzeit. It is the day of the death of a righteous person. But the righteous person we are commemorating is not Ezra HaSofer, but it's a man called Shimon Kippah. Shimon Kippah. Kippah in Aramaic is rock. Shimon Kippah is none other than the man that is known in the Christian Bible as Simon Peter, the Apostle Peter, Yashka's closest disciple, and the one who succeeded him as the leader of the church. Peter became the first pope, the first bishop of Rome, and his name was Simon, Shimon, and Peter means rock, Petra. And Yashka gave him the name Peter because he says, upon this rock I will found my church. And in Aramaic, that's Kippah. Kippah means rock, and Shimon Kippah is the Apostle Peter. So the 9th of Teves, we fast because we're grieving over the death, not the birth, the death of a great tzaddik, the Apostle Peter. What on earth does that mean? The Apostle Peter is a tzaddik in the Jewish tradition? So listen to the story that is recorded in Toldos Yeshu.
Excuse me, what's the name of the book again?
Toldot, the history. Yeshu. Yeshu is Jesus abbreviated. Toldos Yeshu. You can look up. There's a Wikipedia article on it. You can look up. This is a very well-known book, but it's like there are 10 different versions of it. Each one version is a little different. Toldos Yeshu gives us the following story about Shimon Kippah. The early Christians were, of course, all Jews, as Yashka himself was a Jew, and as a result, similar to Messianic Jews today, they infiltrated Jewish congregations. They davened in synagogues. They participated in Shabbat and in Yom Tov. And this was a very dangerous thing. This was like a cancer within Judaism, because as a result, your Jewish friends and neighbors might be espousing Christian heretical ideas. And the Chachamim, the hated Pharisees of the New Testament, so to speak, the Pharisees thought this was a very, very dangerous thing, because this was introducing a cancerous influence that could take Jews away from Judaism. So Shimon Kippah volunteered to do the equivalent of a suicide mission, a spiritual suicide mission. He basically said, I will create a church. I will create a new religion. I will, as it were, take Christians out of Judaism and make them a sect and make them a group that is totally distinct. And in that way, they will be seen to be a different religion. In other words, they will no longer be part of Judaism, so to speak. They will be separate, and although once they're separate, they could oppress us, they could hurt us in various ways, but at least black and white will be clearly demarcated. We will know Christian, Jewish. So Peter said, in order for me to do this, I have to give up my affiliation with the Jewish community. I have to go to Yashka and say I embrace him wholeheartedly, and I know I will never be part of the Jewish community again. I will live my life as one who repudiated Judaism, but I will continue to keep the commandments privately. So the first pope was in fact a religious Jew, not only a Jew, but a religious Jew, according to this legend or this story. And Shimon Kippah just asked one thing. He says, I am leaving the Jewish people forever. in order that other Jews should not be dragged into apostasy. But he asked the sages, please remember me. Remember the anniversary of my death. And in Toldos Yeshu it is recorded that the fast of the 9th of Teves is in memory of Peter, who in our tradition actually is a saint, Saint Peter, so to speak, because he sacrificed his own Judaism in order that Klal Yisrael should not be hurt by Christian influence. Now, to add something even more wild to this, he also composed a prayer, and he asked the sages to include this prayer in the liturgy. And this prayer is none other than the prayer Nishmas. Nishmat is a very beautiful prayer that we recite every Shabbos morning, and we recite at the Pesach Seder. And according to at least one Masorah, the author of Nishmas is none other than Shimon Kippur. And in memory of his great sacrifice for the Jewish people, we recite his beautiful prayer as well. Now, this is quite a wild story, and there are some Rishonim who say this is heretical, and they actually say anyone that says that Nishmas was written by the Apostle Peter is going to have to give an accounting to God after 120 years. So some authorities were absolutely aghast at that type of reconstruction, but some opinions say it did happen. Now, I'll mention another thing. There was a similar theory in the 19th century among historians that was the role of Paul, the Apostle Paul. Now, Paul, again, I'm not going to go Christian history in too much length. Paul was not one of Yashka's apostles. I shouldn't have called him. He was not the Apostle Paul. But he didn't know Yashka. I mean, Jesus was crucified before Paul went on the scene. But Paul declares himself that he was a student of Rabban Gamliel. And Paul says he was a proud Pharisee, and Paul says he was going to persecute those Christians. And that was his road to Damascus, to kind of find some Christians and beat them up, whatever Paul was going to do to them. And then, of course, he had his famous epiphany, the road to Damascus, right? A very famous expression that centered the language. So in the 19th century, there was a theory among academic historians, and they probably got it until the Sheshu, that it was Paul that really broke Christianity off from Judaism. And that actually makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. In fact, it makes much more sense to locate it in Paul rather than Peter, because Paul created ministry to the Gentiles. And it was Paul that actually taught the Torah doesn't have to be kept anymore, because all you need is faith. So it could very well be that in rabbinic literature generally, the apostles are all mixed up, meaning to say, they say Peter when they mean Paul, and the Chachamim were not always medayek in whom they were talking about. So it could very well be that the Toldos Yeshu reference to Shimon Kippur should be understood as a reference to Paul, and then that would validate the academic theory of the 19th century that Paul was a secret agent designed l'shem shamayim and l'shem yadus to break Christianity away from Judaism, to make it a separate religion so it would no longer infiltrate within. And of course, the infiltration is a major danger that we face, because now you do have that infiltration. You have the Messianic Jews, people who have stitches out, and they may even look Haredi on some level.
You can see from that there was a lot of underhanded stuff going on. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes.
When people wonder where I came up with this, it's like after I found it in the text and from what Jesus said, then I go looking for outside sources. And I found both of these videos, and I was like, wow. So this stuff really is out there.
There's way more than that. That's been an actual. If you look up a guy on YouTube called Gnostic Informant, he goes in depth on Peter and Paul both being plants by the Jews. He even have you ever heard of the prophecy of Malachi, artist? Saint Malachi's prophecy about the popes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, he even goes into that they've actually planned all this to align with the prophecy of Malachi, where they arranged it so Peter would be the first pope, and the last pope is this pope, who is called Peter the Roman. So they even show you right in your face that Peter wasn't a Jew, he was a Roman. And the last pope will also be Peter the Roman.
Yeah, well, when Pope Francis stood up and took his inaugural thing, he proclaimed himself to be Peter the Roman.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, and that just so he would line up with Malachi's prophecy. So yeah, and they're just playing out there. I actually, I made a meme earlier about it. Just the fact that all this right now, parts of Italy are being flooded. Poland is being flooded. Alaska, Paris, and then we just had the Hurricane Helene and all that. So they're scrambling now because it was okay for people to not believe in God and be atheists because you're still stuck and you're still getting back, brought back into the soul trap because you still haven't had the teachings of Jesus to set you free. But now that we're spreading the word and connecting the dots, they have to play out the end time scenario. So I think that's just my opinion, and I think that's why they're doing everything now, because they're like, oh crap, too many of these guys are going to wake up. So, but yeah, it all lines up right with Peter the Roman, the Saint Malachi prophecy, the whole 9 yards.
It's all connected.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And it's what's crazy is it drives me nuts is I can't believe I didn't figure it out sooner than I did. I should have. I read the Bible.
I can believe it.
More enough. I should have
It's
called
tough,
on
man.
it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You and I will have problems interrupting each other.
I don't want to talk about that, but sometimes it's an accident. That's all I was gonna say.
No, you're good,
just
man.
trying to
I was
squeeze
just
in.
messing with you. You know me. I'm just messing with you.
But yeah, if no one else had a question, I did want to answer some of these, or at least the few that I have. We still got one from David that was in the comments earlier. David, I hope you're still here. I'm sorry about that. He asked, which Jesus did Judas deny?
I don't think Judas denied any of them.
I wonder if I said this question wrong. That's what I remember it saying.
I never.
David,
That was
David,
his
help me out.
question.
It was?
That was his question, yeah.
Yeah, Judas was the one that betrayed him, according to what we've been taught. But then, like I showed you in John, it's like the son, Judas, son of Simon's not in there. It was actually the Judean Simon, Iscariot, and Iscariot's actually a place. It's a island off of Naples, off the coastline
What
of
do you
Italy.
think about? When the apostles are when Paul went into the house of Judas to get his sight back?
Yeah.
Is there any significance with that in Judas, or do you think that was the same house?
Gosh, I don't know. I hadn't looked into that. That's an interesting concept, though.
And I'm not sure, but the people that kind of betrayed them, and that should be a sign right there against Peter that he unalived somebody for withholding from the tithing, I think.
Yeah, they were putting all their money at the feet
Yeah,
of
Ananias'
the
wife.
apostles too.
Yeah, and then somebody withheld how much he sold his property for or something, and then they unalived him and his wife.
Yeah, Ananias and Sapphira.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, just some pretty stuff, some pretty good stuff that we just look over. It's just so much in there.
I'm gonna see if I can do this or not. I don't know if I can or not, but I'm gonna try to show y'all a preview. Now, this is concrete proof that all this happened in Rome, not the Middle East. And this is the upcoming video that I have prepared that's halfway done. I've still got to voice over half of it. We're doing stuff different tonight, aren't we?
I like the videos. The videos
Let's
is a
I
see.
think
good.
it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that looks nice.
she tried it before, but it just didn't work.
I think she's figured her speakers out, so that's good.
I may have to move the camera.
Hey, who dropped down? Who was there? Oh, Albert.
What it
Oh, I
is
see
mixed
Marie's back.
languages. Okay. Like when we look at the sheep gate in John 5:2, in Greek it is pro Vaticanos. Okay. In Latin, it's Vaticanos. Okay. Well, Vatica is the Vatican. And it's like the pro means in front of. So it would be in front of the Vatican. And that's using two different languages, I'd still get the same definition.
Yeah.
There's two witnesses right there. Then.
And this is Vatican. And she was there in the first century in Rome,
Still can't get in.
right by a healing temple. And it's also the same name we have for the text of the Codex Vatican. I'll give you, this is like a copy of the front page here.
I don't know why that says
But she's the goddess of the underworld, an Etruscan goddess of the Batica, or the underworld, who kept the necropolis of the city where the dead are. I did a screenshot of this so nobody can say I'm not telling the truth. There it is, Vaticano. Vatican underneath the
Okay.
is a Latin Spanish for Vatican.
Yeah.
See down here? Proper noun for Vatican. Vatican City. Vatican. That is the word that John used in Greek. This is how they gnawed the tongue up. This is a Latin Spanish-based word, and they took and used it because the B sounds like a V. That's where you get the Vaticanos or Vaticano.
Yeah, that was not going to work. All right. Let me see. That's not going to work. Uh-oh. Okay, I just have to tell y'all because that's not working right. That's a preview. I get a preview when I'm making these, and I thought I could shrink it down and get it right, but it won't do it right on the preview. But this is, that's Vatica. That's the deity there. And she's the goddess of the underworld, and Jesus said we were in Katokosmos, which is the underworld in Greek. And she's over the Etruscan people of the underworld in the city of the dead, where the Vatican is today. And the actual text of the first scriptures is the Septuagint, which is the text of the Codex Vatica. It's named after her. Now, let's see if I can make this work. All right. When we look at the word Vaticanos, Vatico, scoot that over. Vaticano. If you go down to the meaning, Vatican. So the same word we have in the Greek text means Vatican. And you've got, for the sheep gate, in that verse, you have pro Vatikanos. And pro means in front of in Greek. And Vatikanos, the B changes to a V in English. It's Vatikanos. So John was telling us that he was in front of the Vatican when he was doing that's where Jesus, when the guy wanted to go down in the water and be healed, when the water was stirred up, there's actually a temple there in that exact location that was a healing temple that had the pool on the inside, and you had to go down into the water, and you would have had to, if you were sick, you would have had to have help. I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay. The etymology of the word Vatican comes from a connection to prophesy or to be an oracle. So it was be the place of the prophets. Okay. I want y'all to see the sentence there. Okay, that's the actual sentence in John 5:2. Now there was at Jerusalem by the sheep gate they have market pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Besada, having 5 porches. Okay, see that word for sheep there? It's pro Vatikanos. And when I checked it in Latin and Greek, it means in front of the Vatican.
What was the goddess's name again?
Vatica.
Vatica. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard that somewhere too before, but I don't know where. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's some little pictures of it. You'll be able to see it better when I do the video. But that island looked like a boat in the middle of the Tiber River. And Basada means flowing water. So he was telling us that it was in the area where the flowing water was. And when you go across the bridge that went through the island, on one side was the Vaticanos and the Vatican Field, and on the other side was the temple for Jupiter or Yahweh on the other side. Well, it's lagging for some reason. Okay, this is Accipitus, and this is the guy that is, I'll blow it down in a minute so you can see him, but this is the guy that the temple was built for, and his Etruscan equivalent is Jehovah or Yahweh. And he was the one that they had for this temple, and he looks a lot like Moses because he's, pictures we see of Moses like in the books and stuff, because he's got this beard and then he has the serpent staff. So he looks a lot like Moses. I'll blow it back down. This is not wanting to work right for some reason. I don't know why this is acting up. It's because I'm under attack, guys. There he is.
Always.
Yep, always under attack. Okay, and this is the Latin. When I checked it, it's probatica, and probatica, it could be the same thing because pro in Latin is in front of, and batica in English would be Vatica, so it would be in front of the Vatica. And that's the actual island there. And that was a healing temple. And it had 5 porches, and it had the pool down in the middle. That's a reconstructed, on the left is a reconstruction of what it looked like in 1st century. Also had an Asherim pole, just like the Vatican does today, out front.
Well, I mean, the Vatican's temple is a serpent head.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
That's pictures of the interior. And the water goes down. You go down the steps. Let's see if I can find it. That's not really clear enough for y'all to see it on here, but you go down that hallway down the steps into the water, and there was the flowing water down in the well in the bottom, and they would take people that were sick and put them in that water, and it was supposed to heal them. You can't tell me that's not the right place. There's just too much evidence. And he also has a son, and get this, he was called Anti-Jehovah's.
Huh.
Just like Antichrist, I told you I didn't
Right.
think it meant um, against Christ. I thought it meant Christ-like because antitheos is against is godlike. Well, the son's name was anti Jehovah's.
Yes, Manuel. Yes. Manuel just pointed out it's full of insect images in the inside the Vatican. They have a bunch of crazy
Hmm.
statues.
And you can see up at the top left that red box I've got there. That's the Vatican field, and then you've got the temple right there in the middle of the river. The river splits, and the island is right in the middle. And then when you go over that and go into Rome, you would go up the what they call a sacred way up to Jehovah's temple. It's all one and the same. But people think I'm crazy, but this is concrete, solid proof that that's where they were at. I also found the place where he was baptizing too. It's just south of there on the Tiber River. I'm gonna cover that in a video too. Then Potter's Field, I'm gonna recover that because that's also in Rome. All this, it all happened. It's all real, and Jesus is real, but it did not happen where they said it did. It happened in Italy.
I don't even think it happened when they said it did.
Well,
I think it's only been a few hundred years.
could be. Oh, did he leave? I was gonna tell him bye. Oh, Manueli, we were so happy to have you. You could have stayed up for a while if you wanted to.
He's still in the
He's in
audience
the chat.
listening.
Yeah, he's in
Okay.
the chat.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
that was what I was just talking
It's
about
just
when he pointed out the insects.
it is so exciting to know that we're reaching people that far away and all. It's like it's just amazing.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's
Absolutely.
very
And
amazing.
he's right over there.
Yeah.
He's right over there too. So like not well, he's in Sweden, so I guess it's not right over there, but it's a lot closer than we are, I think.
But this is kind of like a little mini preview to show y'all that, yeah, they are the Romans. It's like I've been covering it in the geography videos, and we're going to see more and more and more. It's probably why I'm under attack with all the computers and stuff.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I pointed out to one of my Torah friends. She was talking about the weather being all these weather attacks being even if they're man-made, God's allowing it as judgment. And I gave her, Jesus scripture from Matthew 5, I think it's Matthew 5:45, that even if you don't believe me, I'm not judging you. I came not to condemn you, I came not to judge you. King James says judge, a couple other versions say condemn, but he says he's not judging anybody. And she tried to counter with, well, would you not want uh if if your wife cheated on you or your daughter was ravaged, would you not want them judged? And I said, well, as a matter of fact, both those things happened to me, and I'm still friends with my ex-wife. I didn't stay with her. I divorced her, but we're still friends. We try and get along. And when my daughter was ravaged, I had to get over it. I had to forgive and let it go and get over it. And she got mad and blocked me. All I said was, the last comment I got to her before she blocked me was, listen, I don't know how many times you're going to sit here and say that you're following Jesus when I show you Jesus' teachings and you don't follow any of them. It's one thing to not agree with me that he's not the son of Yahweh, whatever. You can stay indoctrinated if you want, but to straight deny he literally said, forgive them, Abba. They don't know what they do. As he was forgiving the people that were unaliving him, and who would I be not to, my goal in life is to be as much like him as possible and follow his teachings as much as possible, and so I can escape this soul trap. And she just got mad and blocked me. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, why do you even say you follow Jesus when you are literally praying for destruction of everybody and everything, and not just destruction. Like these girls want torture. They want to see people suffer. It's crazy. That's not the Jesus I know.
Yeah, it's been a lot of
Yes, thank you, David. John 12:47. I don't know why I was thinking 5:45. I don't know, it was stuck in my head for some reason.
Thanks,
I
David.
actually wanted to get this other question from and thanks David because he asked us the question about Judas, but Nikki, Abba's daughter from YouTube 2237, she says explain John 14:12 through 28. I think we did this once and we was going to come back to it and explain 1 John 4:4. Oh, here we go. I already got my Bible open. I'm at 1 John 4:4 right now, so I guess we can start with that one.
Okay.
It says, "You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world." Does anybody want to go first? No?
This chipmunk is going to drive me crazy.
What
Sorry.
do you think, Tim?
It says, "So you are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world." Now, I mean, I know, I kind of know where it could go, where people can say that he's trying to say that you are God in some way, but I really don't see it, you know. And I don't know if that, I'm not saying that you're insinuating that, Nikki. So I want to be fair to you. But when he says he who is in you, I think that life is in us, and is greater than he who is in the world. And I think, of course, that's death. That's Yahweh, God, whatever you want to call him. So I mean, if that's all you meant, I don't really have much on it. It doesn't really confuse me or anything. You know what I'm saying? I think it's pretty straightforward.
So this is how I look at it, Tim. Is so I don't go with that. I think that the New Agers and people that categorize, I think they twist it. Because they use Gnostic teachings to back it to say you are gods. But I don't. When I read the Gnostic teachings, it doesn't say that. It says that there's a divine spark in each of us, and that is our soul, and that belongs to God. So it doesn't. They twist it to make it look like you are a god, when it's actually your soul is a part of God. It belongs to the Father. And I
Yeah,
think what Jesus was trying to say was, greater is he that is in you, meaning the part of God that is in us, the part that belongs to God, is greater than Yahweh's creation in the world, greater than he that is in the world. Because he would have been referring to the abyss here, the world, the below, the waters below. There was the waters above, waters below. It goes back to that whole thing I keep trying to tell everybody, that there was never three realms created in.
well, hold on, Chris, we're getting too far off now.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. Maybe it's my translation, because mine says you are of God. And again, Nikki, I'm not accusing you of trying to say we are gods in any way, but I'll read it from the translation that's just called the scriptures. And if we read back, we can see who the them is that they're talking about. Well, I'm pretty sure it means the world, which you heard, the anti-Messiah, which you have heard is coming, and now he's already in the world. Yeah. You are of God, little children, and have overcome them, because he who is in you. I think life is a person, like I said. He said, I was reading earlier that he said that he was going to send the comforter,
Thank you,
and then
Tracy. Yeah.
he said the comforter was going to dwell in you, and he was going to go up to the Father and tell the Father to send the comforter down to dwell in us. And he identified the comforter as a he. I don't know if that's a translation issue, but yeah.
Yeah.
So he is in you in multiple ways, in my opinion. Again, Jesus called the Father life. I call the Father life, and life is in us. Who cares? That's why we're alive.
Well, and in Greek also can mean with you. He is with you. It doesn't have to. It doesn't literally mean. It doesn't always have to mean in, like inside of you.
Oh, you're talking about when that transitional word when he says
Greater is he that is in
the
you.
in? Yeah,
The
okay.
word for in is en in Greek, and it can also mean with you. You know, because I think Father's always with us. I just don't think we're little mini gods. You know.
Yeah,
Well,
we
that's
say that all
how.
the time. Like, we say that all the time, like he's with us. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually inside of us. But I mean, if you think of uh, everything, so he's outside of everything basically, and he is with everything. So he is with all of us. He's with, like you say, Tim. He's life. He's in everything that there is. So
Yeah, the plants, the
he's with
animals,
us.
us. Yep.
Everything. Yeah. Yeah.
How could you go to your room in private and pray, and then he hear you still and reward you openly if he's not with you
Right.
Right.
right there in the closet?
Exactly. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you
So let's go.
know when you're like you ask a question and all of a sudden the answer just falls right there in front of you. It's like he's listening. It's like
Hmm. To me, that's tangible evidence too. It's
to
just
me it
tangible
is. A
evidence
lot of
to
people don't
yourself.
think so, but I do.
Yeah.
How do they think I figured all this out? It wasn't me.
Exactly. That's
Led.
the proof right there.
Hmm. Someone
That's what
led
I tell
us.
people all the time. The reason I know that what I have found is true is because I didn't know any of this until I started catching opposing scriptures and stuff, listening to I would just put my earbuds in and listen to my Bible app, like literally 10 hours a day, every day for 5 years. And I'd start catching, the Holy Spirit would be like, wait a minute, you know, what did Revelation 2 just say? Don't you remember listening a few hours ago when you were listening to First Timothy when Paul was complaining because he was on trial, in Ephesus? So who's Revelation 2 talking about? Boom. So I start, and I would catch stuff like that. Same with like I didn't even know what the Nag Hammadi was or any of the Gnostic teachings. I just started picking apart the red letters in the Bible and realizing that Jesus was referring, like when he says, you must be born of the Spirit and of water. He's talking about shedding your flesh. And then I find out that, oh, this was actually taught, and the Inquisition was to silence and unalive everybody that uh, taught this, that Jesus was actually saying, that your soul is what matters and you have to shed your flesh. And it matched up with what he was saying, and I was like, wow, this has been taught for centuries, if the timeline's right. And we didn't even, we didn't know it. So that's how I knew it was true, because the Holy Spirit led me to it, and then would give me confirmation by finding out that other people had already been teaching this stuff.
I kind of stay away from the separation of the flesh and the spirit thing because Paul was so heavy into that. It's like what I look at is like this body is just a necessary um, shell that I have to carry around for right now so that I can operate in this world. You know,
That's a good way of looking at it. I've heard other
you know,
people say that too. Yeah.
and it's not like, and I don't think we're the temple either because Paul taught that we're the temple, but Jesus said his body was the temple. And that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, good point.
It's kind of like making yourself God again, right? If he's
Yeah.
saying
Yeah,
that,
it's that elevation of self, and it's like, I wouldn't want him in my body. Oh, gosh, look how I've abused it over the years, you know? It's like I would be ashamed. It must be like, it's like,
Right.
all the junk food I ate, and
That's
I
why
smoked
I always
cigarettes,
look
and,
at it.
it's like,
Yeah, that's why I always
what would he
look at
want to
it.
be in my body for?
Yeah, I
I
always
also
look
want
at
to
it
ask.
as our soul belongs to God. That's how I
Yeah, we
try
got a
it.
soul,
I
and
don't
it's
want
like,
ever
Well, it
when
was
you,
elevate
given to
myself.
us. Yeah,
maybe
we
I
didn't
feel
give it
that
to
way because I
ourselves.
dealt with death so much when I worked, working in trauma. But it's like the
Oh
minute
yeah.
that soul leaves, you can see those eyes just shut down. There's no life
Yep.
in them. It's like, but then something's so still going on right there in that room. You feel it, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like I had one lady in ICU one night. I was working in a really rough situation, ICU, and this woman I came in, and she was doing better, and we were fixing to let her go home, and it's like, she said, I don't want you to worry tonight. I know how you love everybody. And she said, I don't want you to worry because I'm probably going home tonight. And I said, ooh. And I thought to myself, don't talk like that. I'm your nurse. Don't do that.
Right.
And she said, no, I'm serious. She said, I don't know. Father just gave me a word. I'm going home tonight, and it's all right. I'm ready. And it wasn't an hour later, she started having these little blips on the monitor, and I called the cardiologist and got some medicine for her. And I thought, oh, it's going to settle down now. She's been doing so good. And then another hour went by, and it got worse. And I called him again. And then the third time I called him, I said, you need to get up here now. I need you. Because she was getting worse and worse and worse as the night went on. And when he came through the doors, we were working a full arrest on her. And I said, I told you what she said. And he said, you can't go by what they say. And I said, 99% of them know when they're going home. And then he pronounced her and everything. We couldn't get her back. I shut the doors, and I went out to the desk to chart everything up because you have to write everything, every little thing you give, every med, when we start CPR, when we stop. And I would always just jot them down on a piece of paper and then later go out and make it look better, on the chart. And sitting there, and the IV poles started swinging in the room. And I thought, oh boy, because these are iron poles. These are like things hanging from the ceiling to hang emergency medicine on. And then the IVAC started going on and off by itself, the machine that puts the IV fluid through, and it was unplugged, but it was turning itself on and off. And I thought, this is not possible that this is happening. And Sharon's sitting there next to me, and she said, I'm fixing to go home. You fixing to be by yourself because I can't deal with this. And I said, it's fine. It's her spirit probably still in the room. And the curtains started blowing, and there was no air conditioning on in there. And I thought, this is getting a little weird. And then I know from being an American Indian that they always said the soul has to have an exit from a house, like a window cracked, or they always cracked a window or a door if somebody passed
Yeah,
away.
I've heard that
So the
too.
soul
Yep.
would have an access to go out. Well, we had windows in there, and they had screens on them, so I just popped in there and cracked the window, and everything stopped. No more movement. And
Wow.
Sharon said, I know I'm going home now. She said, this is just too creepy. And I'm like, it was just a thing. It just happened. It's like, but I felt like that her soul had somehow was like lingering a little while, It had not left yet. But I
Carly.
felt that feeling quite a few times when people would cross over. And then when you listen to these near death things, it's like they'll say that they were up above the room hovering and they could see.
Yep.
And I had one lady tell me that she watched me during the code when we brought her back. She was
I
up on the
remember that.
ceiling. So I do think there's something to it. It's like I think this is just a shell we're stuck in because it's going to go back in the dirt and the dust and it's going to decay. You know.
I
Yeah,
was
we
gonna
can
say
have
maybe
it
they
back.
be sticking around in they be like kind of like in disbelief, like, oh my goodness, like this is how it is. That's my body. You know what I'm saying? And just looking around the room and just
For a few minutes, and a lot of the near death people say that they were disoriented, like they were disconnected from their body so much they didn't even realize it was them laying on the bed when they
yeah.
floated out. So real interesting
Perspective.
stuff.
Um, Nikki, our daughter, had another question for John 14:12 through 28, and it's so ironic because now Truth Love Abba in the comments said just the thing, and it helps answer the first question she asked. I don't know if you knew that, Nikki. You answering your own questions out here, girl. But anyway,
Yep.
Me too, Mark.
let me see. John 14:12 through 28. Where it is? Okay. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he shall do also. And greater works than these he shall do, because I go to my Father. Now, in my Bible, that word, that greater works, that word works is italicized and like is lightened, almost like it's not supposed to be there or something. Artist, that's your category. You and Marie there.
Yeah, I would have to look that
That's
one
your
up because I
expertise.
haven't looked it up. It might be distorted.
See,
You
I've
know.
Yeah,
always looked at
but
that different. I've always looked at that
hold on.
different. Oh, go ahead,
Hold
Tim.
on, let me
Sorry.
finish reading the whole in verse real fast. No, no worries, brother. Um, and it says, and whatever you ask in my name, that I shall do, in order that the Father might be esteemed in the Son. If you ask whatever in my name, I shall do it. If you love me, you shall guard my commandments. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper, and that helper is capitalized, to stay with you forever. This, and then I think right here, this next verse, verse 17, is explaining what the helper is. The Spirit of truth, whom the world is unable to receive because it does not see him or know him. Just like everything that just went on, how people can't even see the truth of the situations and because the truth don't be in them. Um, and it even says, whom the world is unable to receive, right? The
I
Spirit of
know, it's
truth.
so wild.
So only us is going to find this because we got what inside of us that from her first question from John,
Spirit of
First John
truth.
4:4, right up inside of us,
Right.
Yep.
all up in us. Yep. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. See, he stays with you. Shall be when you in the private closet praying. He's there.
He said
And
nothing is hidden that won't be revealed.
that's right.
And the reason I do what I do is the verse right after that that says, "What I whisper in your ear, shout to the rooftops." You know,
Yes. Yes.
that's why I do what I
Um.
do.
And there's about 10 more verses for her question because she said 12 through 28. So we're going to get all of it.
Okay.
He said, I
Poor
shall
Nikki.
not leave you orphans. I am coming to you. Yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me, but you shall see me, because I live, and you shall live. In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. Let me go ahead and explain that one before we even continue, right? Again, I am in my Father, right? Because He is the Word of life, and I'm gonna use my word life as I explain this for instead of God. So He is the Word of life, and just like us, our word is inside of our body before we speak it. Okay, so I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. And when He says you and me, it means when we're standing in truth, because when you
Yeah.
speak, you're supposed to tell the truth.
What verse is that exactly? Like what chapter and verse?
This is John 14, and this right here in particular is 20, verse 20. And then He
Okay.
said He is in us, and the truth is in us as well. And He said He gave us the Spirit of truth. So should I keep going, or you want to look it up real quick?
I think I've analyzed that one. I'm gonna see.
I'm interested to see, but that is my interpretation of it. And I don't know if anyone agrees. I don't think I'm stretching anything. Um, It says, "He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me, and he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him." Uh, my version says Yehuda because it's like a Hebrew, translation type. I'm thinking that means Judah, not the one from Corinth. I could be. I mean, the names are bad. You know, they're all Hebrew. So, but it said to him, Master, what has come about that you are about to manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Jesus answered him, If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him.
No, I'm sorry, it's not that one. It must have been a different one.
It's a different one.
Yeah.
He
So
who
I always look at. Oh, go
it's
ahead, Ken.
almost
Sorry.
no, it's almost done. It's like four more verses. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but of the Father who sent me. These words I have spoken to you while still with you. But the Helper, the set apart Spirit, there it is, to define it again, whom the Father shall send in my name, he shall teach you all. And that's what the truth is doing to us, right? The set apart Spirit, the Spirit of truth, and remind you of all that I said to you. And it does in these situations, like how Marie came and saved the day twice so far. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. This is the last verse. You heard that I said to you, I am going away, and I am coming to you. If you did love me, you would have rejoiced that I said, I am going to the Father, for my Father is greater than I.
Yeah,
And
that's a
that's the
lot.
end of it. I know, right? That's a lot.
Well, so I have
And,
a simpler way of breaking it down that I think a lot of people overlook, and I believe you guys will agree with me when I say it. Um, so Jesus said to go, go spread the good news, go spread the gospel. All right. The good news was that we don't have to be bound up in this world of, that's the true gospel. I believe, is Yahweh's the devil. This is bad. This place is bad. And the good news is I'm telling you, if you can live in peace, love, and unity, that you can get out of this trap. All right. So I use this when everybody asks me why if we were supposed to do greater works than him, why aren't pastors in hospitals healing the sick and blah blah blah. I don't think that's the works he was talking about. I think the works was just the message. What we're doing right now is the greater works. We're experimenting because we have tools. Jesus didn't have TikTok, you know. He had to actually tell people, so that's kind of
he
how
did
I
say,
look at it.
he did say something like, the ones that see me and hear these words now, they are blessed, but even more blessed are the ones that don't see me
Right,
and
right.
do these. But someone, Mark in the comments said that's the other one. David said he think it is also, and I'm curious to hear you guys' view. If one of you guys want to come up and share it, if you can enlighten us, and because we all just detectives out here trying to find the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we on the same team. I want to find out what you guys got.
Who is it that you want to invite up?
Mark or David,
Yeah, come on up.
or Mark and David.
Yeah, I can drop down if you
And it's
want.
not. I don't think it's the top Mark, the guy that's all the way on top. If it's the same, this is a different Mark. He has it's a face shot. I can't see him on the thing though. I see David though. If David want to try to come up, brother, I never heard you speak yet.
Yeah, we definitely with who we got in here tonight. We're not about arguing. We have different viewpoints, and we can all love each other, no matter
It's
what, and just
okay.
share the road together.
I think he denied it, but it's okay. If it's not ready, there's no pressure.
Yeah, I
But
agree, David. They mingled both. I
and
believe some
that's
of the
possible. That's possible.
you know, I believe some of the stuff was from the Christ, and some of it was from Barabbas.
And that was Nikki's next question too. That was her last question. Was it Barabbas or was it Christ? And look, we already on it.
Yeah, we gotta. I mean, that's what we gotta. We gotta test it. That's why we do what we do.
Oh, Mark wants to come up. Man, Mark request. I can't find his name. I didn't see it. Maybe it is the. I could. Yeah, it's this Mark. How do I invite him up? Mark, I'm
Did
trying to
he
get
say
you.
he wanted? Did he say he wanted to come up, or was that my comment saying, "Mark, do you want to come up?"
Yeah, I think you saw Eileen's comment.
Did I see it wrong? Is
Yeah.
that what it
Yeah,
was?
yeah.
My
Yeah,
bad.
I don't see the mark.
Mark's like, man, get up off me, man. I don't want to come up. Leave me alone.
Right?
Yeah,
I invited him.
I don't want to talk to you nuts.
Man, this guy's like a freaking Jehovah's Witness out here. All right, if not, I can. I do have
Tim, you
one
know
more.
I'm back here laughing, right? You crack me up.
I'd be
Well,
forgetting
keep
that you be
learning,
on the same
baby.
page like that. I got one
I
more,
know.
and so we got the YouTube comments. I want to try to find out how to get to the. You said it was a community page. It was on Facebook.
YouTube. There's a community page, and it just has comments and things that I post.
Okay, so I'm gonna find you guys, and I'm gonna start writing down your questions too. I have one from you guys this time, but also I'm gonna try to get the. Is there a Facebook community too? Because I want to get theirs too and make sure we get everybody involved.
You know, I don't really have a. I have the scriptural truth, but I don't post in there much anymore. When I found that the meta was part of the pit in the Old Testament, I kind of quit posting much on
On
Facebook.
Facebook and stuff.
Yeah.
Understood. So a lot of people has been friend requesting me on Facebook, and I've given them my contact in the YouTubes when they ask. So you know, I'm always going to be posting the videos on my page if anybody, but maybe we can make a page or something. I don't. Up to you guys. We'll talk about it. But yeah, I want to get the question from eDay is 288. Hopefully, I got that right there. First, he or she says, "Love you all," and he or she wants to hear our thoughts on the Old Testament God being Yahweh, how history is repeating itself, and with Israel hurting their neighbors and in front of the world, just like their Old Testament daddy.
Well, Yahweh's word is He makes a complete end of all the nations except for one,
Right.
and
Yeah.
you know that's pretty self-explanatory. They keep trying to make it happen.
That goes back to the thing I was talking about earlier, like what Tim said. You know, people sell their soul. Those are his chosen people. You know, and I don't believe it has to do with a nationality. I think it's I think it's a bloodline, like an Rh negative blood, like a Nephilim bloodline that are his chosen people, and they're kind of the workers that keep recycling history. I mean, you can find, look up Tartaria. You know,
Tim, sorry, Chris, that's going kind of down a different avenue, but Tim, you had a response for that, didn't you?
Yeah, I do.
That's more in line with what she was asking.
And I forgot how it was gonna work. Well, you know, okay, well, we are living in the end times, right? And I guess Chris, I can ask you this. Do you believe we're living in the end times?
oh yeah. Well, the end of
Okay.
this cycle, and I believe it might be the last cycle.
Okay, well, so if we're living in the end times and there's nothing new under the sun, history must be repeating itself for sure,
Yep.
then, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's no doubt about it. You know, I ain't making it up. It's just
No.
mathematically correct, right? And that's
Definitely.
just
Yeah,
what's
that's what I
happening.
was saying.
Yeah, Yahweh don't got any new tricks.
Nope. It's the same cycle. I think the Tartarian mud flood, the fact that, you know, like I grew up in New York, and the buildings there were 13 levels of basements under the buildings, you know. So I think it's just a reset, and he starts all, and that's why I don't think the timeline. I think we're in what would be called Satan's little season, you know, where, and I think it started around 1776. I think our history never doesn't go back as far as we think it does. I think it's only a few hundred years. and this is just this has been the last cycle because there's they say we're going into the age of Aquarius, which would be the final stage, and that would be the last, and that's what I think in Revelation is about our Jesus and the real Father, when it's the remakings of the heavens and the earth, that there's a whole a grand awakening of everyone. You know, that what we're doing right now and getting out to a small select people is going to blow up, and it's going to be exposed on crazy levels. I think that's where Jonathan Kahn gets his little Return of the Gods bull crap, you know, because they know, you know, they know that the fate Yahweh and his family are coming back, and this will be the last final battle between the good and light forces, because I don't trust any uh Elohim, but I know that there are some that work for the Father. Now, I don't trust anyone's with the names like Tim, you mentioned it before, Gabriel, Danielle, Michael, Mike L.
I don't
You
think
know,
we should trust any of them, Chris, because
right? That's what I mean. I don't.
like
I think
any at
it's
all,
yeah,
like at
yeah. I
all.
agree.
Like I don't think there's some that's working for the Father.
Well, I think that I guess not the Father. I think they're working for like, how do I say it? Like they're still tricking us. They're still trying to trick us, but they want to look like the good guys. Like Donald Trump would be, you know, oh
Yeah,
yeah, I'm your buddy. You
but
know,
they still working for Yahweh.
I'm out here.
Any
I'm flipping burgers at McDonald's.
if Father is not down here intervening with anything, why would he?
No, I don't think he cares.
The angel, the heavenly host, wouldn't be down here either, because that's what the Watchers slash the Fallen did, and you know, that's what they did wrong according
Yeah,
to Yahweh.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So why would the other ones come down and mate with humans or something like that? You know, they don't interfere like they're not supposed to. And at least that's what I believe. At least, you know.
We'll
I
see.
could be
That's
wrong.
no. I think we agree. I'm just terrible about how I phrase stuff. So I think there's going to be the final battle between, you know, the Anunnaki gods. Okay, I think they're going to come back. We're going to see a final battle of their bullcrap, and I think that is when Abba says, "All right, enough's enough. Everybody has awakened enough. Here's the truth. Everybody is ascending, and I'm going to remake the heavens and the earth. You guys are done. You know, there with your nonsense. You whatever talking to the Anunnaki. You know, to Yahweh and everybody. I'm done with all of it. It's over. I'm hoping this is the last cycle." And it's an end, but everybody has to reach. It's like a preparation. If you can't walk in forgiveness and love and kindness, then you can't be part of the kingdom of heaven with the Father. And this is preparing us for that, to teach us until we learn to walk in peace, love, and kindness. We ain't getting out of this.
Yeah.
You know? I think
And
that's
and that's us. And when you do that, honestly, I think we're going to continue to meet people like Albert. It was a blessing to meet you tonight.
I have
mean,
something to say there too.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to follow on Chris's comment there about being here, like for the, you know, you're here to learn, and then you can't leave here until you know certain things, whatever. I don't agree with that. I think that we're here for what reason, we're not sure how we got here, but we do know that we were prisoners, captives, and Jesus Barabbas paid a ransom to set us free. And I believe that, yes, we do learn while we're here, because the Father uses everything for good.
For
So
good, yeah.
that's how he allows us to learn so that we can seek, and find his information and find his truth and get out of here. But I don't believe we're here as a lesson, because the Father doesn't tempt us or try us or judge us or any of that stuff. I don't believe it's a
I don't
journey
think this is
of
a glorified,
That's a good point.
a twisted field trip.
yeah,
That's, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
right.
Okay.
It's
I
not that.
never put it together with being tempted. That's a very good point. Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
right. The Father doesn't tempt anyone. So yeah.
And
I
it,
do think that we're very fortunate that we can learn while we're here, but I don't think we're here to learn like
Elaine,
a
you ever,
specific,
Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah, I guess I have to change my view on that and agree with you, because I never thought about the fact that the Father, you're right, the Father doesn't tempt.
no
So
tempting, no trying, no testing, no none of that. Yeah.
Also,
good
you got to
point.
remember too that um, Jesus told us that all whosoever that came before him were thieves and robbers, and the sheep don't hear their voice. So we have to take whatever is said outside of his words worth a grain of salt compared to what he says.
exactly,
You know.
Yep.
exactly. And it makes it simpler for us too. Like, I would like for it to be simpler. I don't want to go open the door and then find out I got to search another 11 doors or something. Like, dang, I just, you know what I'm saying?
That's what they do. That's what they got us everybody doing. I mean,
Yeah.
you got 50 million videos on YouTube, and all of them are chasing down rabbit holes, and nobody knows what's going on, and nobody really search. They don't go to his words. They go everywhere but his words.
Right. Yep.
And Elaine, I did want to apologize to you, because I feel like every time you're about to make a point, or I might think you're finishing up, and I'll say something and it feel like I just cut your whole vibe off, and I feel so bad.
No,
My bad.
I'm just sitting here on the edge of my seat waiting to say something, and I'm afraid to cut anybody off. So I'm just like, I think we do kind of cut a little bit, but we have to a little bit
Or
sometimes.
accident,
I mean,
or
I'm not.
just out of passion.
Yeah.
Like I just did.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Exactly.
Had you finished saying everything you wanted to, Ellie?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. I didn't want to cut you off at all.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
I think we're in a safe space with the people that are talking right now. I don't think we're gonna have to worry about if we cut each other off, because we could both, Tim
I'm
and I do it all
laughing,
the
man.
time. And we're just
Well, it
like,
can happen on accident sometimes. So it makes it becomes a problem when it's like eight times in a row or something. You know what I'm saying? But
right, yeah. No, I'm
But yeah.
all good with just saying, "Oh, sorry, go ahead, finish."
but yeah,
I think I'm probably going to call it here. Do we have any more questions, Tim? Are we pretty good on that?
nope, that was all of them.
Okay, because it's getting late. I'm getting tired. Of course, I've been burning the midnight
Is it
oil
good?
lately.
Yeah, you have.
I haven't been
It's been a
asleep
good
yet.
live,
So
guys.
Oh my gosh,
Thank you
Tim.
for everybody coming.
I know, right? I'm gonna hit the sack so hard.
54,000 likes, you guys. That's an awesome live for tonight.
Oh yeah, that's
at one point
awesome.
we had
Very
60
awesome.
people in here, unless my phone was messed up and.
No, that's great. Okay, I'm going to say goodnight. Everybody have a good night. Love y'all.
All
Hi.
right, love you guys.
Love
Good
you.
night.
Night, John boy.
Take care. Love you, everybody.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Night, Mary Ellen.